It's May 13th, 2020, and it's finally breathing room for me to do a garden tour. Show some of the stuff that I have planted, what I've been working on. I usually take an inventory every year, and I've been encouraged to maybe do a video. Some people have asked me what I have, and so here it is. I'm doing a video for inventory. Let's see. Okay, so I have loads of potted plants. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those because they're first year plants, anything potted, and for the most part, and may not survive. And some of these are experiments. But this one is going to go to my East Texas location. This is pawpaw fruit. Yes, that's what it's called. Pawpaw. The largest fruit, I believe, native fruit in North America. About like a pear in size, and supposedly tastes like vanilla custard. Those are for actual orchard stuff. Some stuff I have is just for personal use. This is a Brazos Bell avocado, and she is not doing so well. I got this from a nursery. I'm probably not going to say who the nursery is, but they were terrible. Everything I got from them was really bad, had root rot. So I'm trying to bring her back. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but she is sending up new buds. So I'm nursing her back to health. Hopefully it'll live, because it's a cold hardy variety of avocado. So right now it's potted, but when it gets to a certain maturity level, if I put it in a sheltered location, I might get away with planting it just outside, even in my location, which is Zone 8. I have a variety of avocado called a Fantastic. Again, cold hardy down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is called I believe it's called the Mexican winter Mexican. There it is, avocado, winter Mexican. And it's down to 20 degrees. It's good down to 20. There's some more personal crops of mine. This here is curry. So if you like Indian food, you're going to want one of these. Unless you live near an Indian market somewhere. These are not for personal use, but this is hazelnut. This one ain't doing so great. But this is like a shady nursery area. This here is a dwarf mulberry. And once again, you may not be able to see it on camera, but right there, my finger is, you can see a little bud. So it's coming back. And I even have some seeds on my curry, which is exciting. This is a domesticated violet, and they are edible. The flowers, disclaimer, if I say something is edible, you can't eat it. Only I can. Okay. So we have edible violet. This is a purple one. This is the common variety. If you want to go buy it, you can look. There's the variety. That's what it's called. And this one it's a violet, but the flowers are yellow and purple. And unfortunately, I don't have any to show you right now. This is a new bed this year. These are second year wild violets that are growing. The leaves and the flowers are edible. This is sorrel, and it's that variety. Newly planted. I get these little plugs, and they're field grown. They're grown out in the field up north. And so trying to get them to grow here. This is another violet, and it's just getting murdered by snails, as most everything here is. And it's the yellow and purple violet, the Etane. And back here, something I'm very proud of. You can see these flowers, these inflorescence. And down here, you can see what this is. This is native wild onion. So I'm in Zone 8, but the specific ecoregion, the level 3 ecoregion, is called the Cross Timbers. And the level 4 ecoregion is the Grand Prairie of the cross timbers. And within there, I found these growing on my place when I bought it. It was a wooded lot. It had some clearings and some open spots. And these are just native wild, and these are not domesticated onions that have gone wild. These are native. These were here pre-European, and they're absolutely delicious. Great for smoking meats and whatnot. This is my wife's rosemary bush. I don't know if it's going to come out in perspective. That's a 6-foot fence back there. Large bush. We take cuttings from it and do starts for rosemary to spread it around. We have peppermint growing in here up under this very, very large dill plant. Let's see if we can find it. There's a little treat in here. There's these little caterpillars on here that are from a swallowtail butterfly, and for some reason they only live on this dill plant. They seem to love it, so if you like those butterflies, I would suggest growing it. And then the peppermint, we got oregano. This here is interesting. This is a dead stick. I'm just kidding, it's not dead. Right here. See that little bud? That's actually a bud coming out. This is a tea plant. The same plant that provides black tea, white tea, green tea. It's that plant, so hopefully we'll get that going. I've been trying, this is the second year I've attempted to do tea, and it's not easy to grow for me. We have some parsley growing down in here. Roses. And more roses. And some Swiss chard. Good stuff, tasty. Lemon balm. Well, this ain't doing so well. It was doing great. But this here is yeah, it's doing okay. It's sending up new shoots. This is a artichoke. A purple, Roman purple. Yeah, I think I still got the variety in there. Yeah. It's a purple Roman artichoke. Bocking 14 comfrey. There we go. There's a flower for you. This is the Etane violet. It's yellow with the purple edges, and the little petals are edible, and supposedly on the domesticated violets the leaves are edible too, but I'm not going to try that. I'm just going to do with the wild edible violet. The leaves are supposed to be edible. I think here's another parsley. Dandelion, yes, I count it. It's edible. And then these guys. These are all, they look like sunflowers. They almost look exactly like sunflowers, and they are a type of sunflower, I think. These are Jerusalem artichokes. So this whole bed is Jerusalem artichoke, also called sunchoke. And under each one of these plants, I'll probably have anywhere from 3 to 7 pounds of root crops that are edible. And they do taste like artichoke. I may have to do this a 2-part video because I just realized I have a lot of stuff. Here's a pot garden. And there's anything of note in here? No, not really. This year, new Nanking cherry. Yeah, so these are all being potted up to train and try to get a root mass. They come bare root, and they came late because the nursery that ships them is up north, and their spring happens much later than ours. So by the time I got them, it was just too hot, and I'm not going to put them in the ground yet. I want to train them up, try to get a root mass going, and then put them in the ground. So this is a Chickasaw plum, okay? And this is a dead stick. This is the old Chickasaw plum. This tree has a really neat habit. It's a wild tree. It's a native tree, native to the cross timbers, although I've lived here for a very long time, 40 years, and never seen one of these in any of the areas I've hiked in the wild areas in the cross timber. So who knows? But supposedly it's native here, and it does grow pretty well. But this tree has a funny habit. If it just decides that it doesn't like the location that it's at, it just says, you know, F it, and then starts sending out runners and starts sprouting up new trees along those runners. Okay, so you can see I got a bunch of new trees to dig up and transplant. So one tree died, one tree replaced it, another tree replaced it, and then I've got all these little shoots coming up all over the ground for trees to dig up as replacements. That's important because I lost 7 out of 12 Chickasaw plums this year. These are second year Chickasaws, and I lost them in the second year. Here's another one that I lost, and another one that I lost. This is in a side yard near a fence, and it's got quite a bit of shade. So my garden, I do succession planting. So in a typical forest, you have trees like this growing, and they age and they slowly wither and die. And then as they wither and die, younger trees come up and take their place. So I'm trying to facilitate that a little faster. So this tree here is a male cedar tree. Well, we call them cedar here. They're actually ash juniper. It's the genus and species. It's actually a juniper. And a little side note, if you live in this area of Texas and between December and March or so, you are just miserable with allergies, it's because of this tree. I can almost guarantee it. This is a male tree. This is a female tree. Female trees don't cause the allergies. It's the male trees. So I don't want him here. But this tree is useful to generate mulch with the leaves and everything. So what I want to do is take this very old tree, and I'm going to slowly dwarf him down until he sends bud back. So he's going to send these little limbs here lower on the tree. So then once I get these limbs down here a bit stronger, I can take out the top, let some light through the canopy, and that's why these died. Is they got light starved. So I'm going to have to solve that problem before I can replant. But that's okay. It'll give me some time to train up my new stock. This here is a 3-lobe sumac, a male 3-lobe sumac. I'm working on getting a female on the property so I can offer these for sale. But a beautiful deciduous shrub, I personally think so. And it produces really striking red berries. Let's see here. Pear tree, not doing great. This is caused by over-fertilization. So in this area, the county passes a regulation. There's no city septic system. We live in a county area outside of an incorporated city, so we have to have our own septic system. And here, you cannot have, you have to have an aerobic septic. So every night, it'll sprinkle septic water. It sounds gross, but it's all treated onto the top, and it's very fertile. And this tree happens to be very, very close to the sprinkler head. So that's going to cause a problem. But I've seen this before. It's not going to kill the tree. It's sending up new shoots, you know. I completely restructured this tree. It looks pretty flimsy. Not a lot of leaves on it. But that's because this year I really went after it with my snips. When I first bought the tree, I didn't know what I was doing. I should have pruned it out, and when the tree was given to me, it had all these branches. Okay, I should have picked one and cut everything else off and kept one branch and one central leader, and I didn't do that. So I'm trying to restructure it now and fix it, which means there's gonna be a couple years I have to sacrifice fruit. This tree has produced fruit, but this year I cut a lot of limbs off to try to restructure the tree to make it produce more fruit in the future. Here's a nursery area. Bunch of pots and starts and experiments. If there's anything notable in here I should point out, let's see. Oh, this is kind of neat. This is an air layering that I cut too soon. So I'm trying to learn how to air layer. And this tree I air layered about 10, 11 weeks ago. And I thought it should have produced roots by now, and it has produced roots, but not enough to support this entire mass. So I repacked it in sphagnum moss and put it in this water bath. So the roots that are there should still grow now that it's separated from the tree. And even though this tree looks absolutely horrible, everything's just droopy and everything. If you come up here, you can still, one way I check to see how it's going is, find some of the newer leaves and see how much springiness is in the leaf. See how it's a little droopy, but it's also perky. It's not completely dried out. It's not completely flimsy. So it's doing fine. And if it takes, then that right there will become an American plum tree, a whole standalone American plum tree, copy of the mother. And I'll be transplanting all my American plums to East Texas. Yeah, I can't come outside and not work, so sometimes I have to I see something and I have to do it. All right, here's potted potatoes. This is just like like an old trash can that I just cut the bottom off of. And then we take our kitchen potatoes that we don't eat, and we just toss them in here, and they grow, and then we harvest them. I've also put a wild strawberry in here. And the squirrel thought that this place needed some oak trees, so I actually harvest this for oak trees and pot them up to grow them in case maybe in the future somebody wants an oak tree. I've got Texas red oak, live oak, and Shumard, a few other types of oak. This is work I have to do. So we have more of those wild edible violets. This is what they look like when they're not being attacked constantly. Right there. And then we have woodland strawberry, a little different than the wild strawberry. So woodland strawberry, this little center part on the tip of the leaf is longer than the other parts. Whereas with woodland strawberry, it is shorter. See that little tip? Stubby. So, a lot of things you can be in this world, and stubby is not one you want to be. Alright, so let's see here. These are all potted up quince. Those will go in the ground next year. Again, I'm just trying to build the root mass. This year I got into black walnut. Most of these plants, except for the quince, are going to go to East Texas. So, Nanking cherries, those will stay here. But the walnut, I have some hickory, shellbark hickory. Here we have some black cherry. All these are Piney Woods natives, and that's where my other farm is, so that's where those will go for an orchard out there. Here's a pear tree, and you can see I have it wired pretty funny, and I've made it further along on restructuring this tree. So I've got a central leader right there, and then I've got side branches shooting off of it. And these lateral branches are going to be, I'm going to keep them relatively flat. And then I'm trying to get it to bud back a little higher up, and there'll be another level of flat branches. And I'll probably do that one more time and then dwarf the tree right there, just cap it off. And run these branches out sideways, and then keep those capped off at a certain length, which will cause bud back. And that's how you get fruit on these things, these little fruit spurs. You want as many of these little fruit spurs to sprout backwards on your branches, because all the pears will come from second year wood. Another dead Chickasaw. This one's pretty straightforward. Not only was it lacking in light, but it was being choked out by this guy. This here, you can see one of my air layerings. This here is a American plum. They're not native here, that's why I want to get them off this property and transplant them over to East Texas. But again, they also have that habit of sending out runners like the Chickasaw does. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, but this is a thicket actually. If you look down here, there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 trees. So I'm gonna slowly air layer this guy and make trees out of it, and just whittle it down from the top until I get it really, really short, and then I'll come in with my Chickasaw replacements and replant Chickasaws and move the American plum off to the side. Here we have an asparagus bed. This is all heritage asparagus, and I have a dill in it. It's an interesting dill. I like the color. It's kind of blue. It's really neat. Really delicious. Let's see. We got some Jersey Night, some kind of purple asparagus, and Mary Washington, I think is what it is. And then we got some basil in here. Basil goes. So if you notice that none of my garden beds have just one crop, at least they shouldn't. And you shouldn't either. This companion cropping is actually very beneficial. So the basil and the dill help keep off pests. Moving on. I'm going to see a lot of pots out here, more black cherry, more walnut. I have a habit of overwatering, so my walnut's actually dying because it rained last night. So I got to repot these. I got a wrong soil mix. But here we go. Some blackberry, thornless. So, oh yeah. And potatoes everywhere. I got potatoes on the ground everywhere. You see a dead one right there. Must have dried out. So you got some extra potatoes, go outside, chunk it in the ground, and eventually you'll have potatoes everywhere. But you can see we're going to have our blackberries in the summer, and it's just loaded, this thing. There's 3 plants in there. More pots from seed, tomatillo. This one's interesting. This one I want to try to get this to be a main crop, but it's very finicky. This is a purple pak choi. This is wild rocket arugula, and I did get some Turk's cap to start from seed. All right. This bed is huge. Should have spent more time for this. This is a Wayne Roderick flower. It's just a flower, just for pollination. These are Maypop passion flower. These are passion flowers that are native. I got 4 of them in pots. I need to plant them this year. I'm just trying to find the right location. Here you have a really horrible looking plant, but believe it or not, it's actually quite healthy. This is a goji berry. I'm actually trying to kill it because if it can't survive this climate, I don't want it. And if it's a lot of maintenance, it's not worth my time. But they produce a little red berry. It's pretty delicious, and they're supposed to get like 9 foot tall, so that you can tell these are quite young. There's a Swiss chard. This gives us a lot of our greens. And we have a Texas lantana, native to Texas. More of that Maypop passion flower, dwarf mulberry. I'm showing you these crops because they will be in the ground before the summer, hopefully. We got some oregano again, another goji berry up in there, and then we have a tree collard that looks absolutely miserable. I haven't watered anything, so everything you're seeing is, yeah, you see water hoses on the ground, and I do water seeds because you have to water them to start them, but all this other stuff, we've had an especially dry and hot year. We've already had 100 degrees before May even got here, so I feel like this is doing okay considering that the native soil looks like that. That's what the native soil looks like. So, the fact that I can get anything to grow in it, I feel pretty happy. I've also planted a bunch of peanuts in here. We'll see how that goes, and I got another tree collard. So I'm really trying to stress these tree collards. I give them just enough water just to live, and I'm hoping that'll make their roots drive down. I've tried tree collards before. These are the Richmond purple tree collards, and I have not had any luck with them. I can get them to grow real tall, but surviving winters, and then once they bolt, I'm not. So I'm trying again. We'll see. So we have some wood sorrel that's really stressed. It's been potted up. Not wood sorrel, sorry. That's that blonde lion's sorrel, French sorrel. We have a perennial broccoli, which is also known as Turkish rocket. I'm not going to water these today because they get watered in the morning. That's why they're all shriveled. But if you look, you can see a new sprout down in there. So that's what you should really judge it by. You see these really distressed looking leaves, you might want to water it, but yeah, look at the new growth. So, an elderberry, another blackberry, and this is interesting. This is a cretin oregano, Oreganum onits. I don't know, it's not my Latin. I don't know how to pronounce it right, see? There you go. It's native to Crete, and it's different than regular oregano. And again, I haven't watered this at all, and this is first year planting. It seems to be doing really good. So I would advise that as a crop. Let's see what we got going on in here. Okay, this is hybrid asparagus. I don't know what the hybrid is, but it's far more vigorous. It's not a GMO. If it was hybridized through breeding, but still. And then we have a purple. There is a dill in here somewhere. Oh yeah, right there. So I can get it on camera. Yeah, right there, all flimsy and floppy. And then flimsy and floppy. That's my nickname. Now that I'm past 40. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so he's halfway dead. But I give him some water, he'll come right back. We were supposed to get some rain, and we didn't. All right, this is what we call our tomato bed. So we have more of this Bocking 14 comfrey. I mentioned to a few people, if you ever need toilet paper in a pandemic, just grow this stuff. Look at this. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Nice and soft and perfect. There we go. All right, so more of that. This is regular oregano. This is table culinary oregano. This bed looks pretty horrible. You see a lot of dead stuff. Well, that's because of this. this here is arugula seed. So we have arugula growing in this bed, and we let it go to seed. We got a lot of dandelion. It's just everywhere. Very, very delicious, very edible. There's all kinds of little goodies in this bed. So there is asparagus, and we've got leeks, and let's see here, tomatoes. There is, in there, it's hard to see, but right here, that little green is Malabar spinach. This stuff is amazing. It gets above 90 degrees, and for some reason, that's when it decides it wants to grow the most. And it'll be 100 degrees, no rain, and it will be the only crop you'll have that'll be just loving it. So, and it's a vine, so the footprint on the ground, you know, is like that big around, you know, it's tiny. And then you grow it vertically, and you still grow lots of stuff nearby. This is not woodland. This is wild strawberry. More asparagus. Asparagus and tomato go well together. There's another tomato in here. See it? These little guys. This is the bane of my existence. Look at them. Yep. Okay. Now here's something. This is a wild native called wood sorrel. Right here. I can get you a good picture. Looks like a clover. Okay. It tastes kind of lemony. So we let that grow as well, using our salads. This bed is in transition. We've got some stuff planted, it hasn't come up. We got some stuff dying and that we haven't fully harvested. We've got some new stuff planted. Here is a tree collard that I cloned. So there's the base. We follow it all the way up. Yeah, here we go. See? And if you can keep them alive, they grow like trees. So I'm taking a different strategy with them. I'm going to try to grow them slower, just try to get them up tall, and just take my time with them, let them get well established and see how that goes. They definitely, you got to put them in full, complete sun. And there's more of that tree collard, really delicious green to eat. This rose I got my wife for Valentine's Day, more oregano. That's a tomato bed. That's mainly my wife's bed. I don't do anything with it. Sage, oregano. It's dying off this time of year where it dies off, but we have garlic right there. We have native wild onion that I showed you earlier, transplanted to this bed, and as time goes on it will seed and spread, hopefully. Loads and loads and loads of blackberry, just everywhere. There's a blackberry plant here. Let's see. Right there's a blackberry plant and one side by side. Okay. I want to get this on camera. This is a garlic bed, which to you is going to look like a bunch of dead grass. This is the time of the year that it kind of dies off and goes dormant. You can see there's some of the green leaves. We have some growing up in here. Down. So this will be a dormant bed, and it's currently got mustard, Georgia curly leaf mustard specifically, seeding, and arugula seeding. And we take 50% of the seed to save, 25% of the seed we spread around to all the beds, and then the other 25% of the seed we leave to drop in place. And the idea is we want to create self-seeding annuals, so I don't have to come out here and sow seed. There's another bed of that wild onion. I've also planted prairie turnip in here that hasn't come up yet. It's a native wild edible. Here's a winter onion bed, so it's completely dormant. And you'll see there is some stuff growing. We have some oregano, more of that Cretan oregano. You know, I think this plant is called white man's foot. And I think it's edible, but I've never tried. Let's see. We've got cilantro growing everywhere. Like, it's all over the place. I've probably passed over it lots of times and haven't spoken about it. So here's another garden bed. This is our first garden bed we ever built. And there's just so much stuff in there. I could spend a whole video on just this one bed. It's a great example of intercropping. And we've got echinacea, tree collards, you know, little ones, big ones. There's carrots all up in there. There's a carrot, big old carrot right there. There's some carrot seeds. That's some seeds of a carrot. We have more of that tree collard. There's sorrel, the blonde lions sorrel, garlic. Oh man, there's Georgia collard in there. There's several of them. There's chard. It's just packed full of food. Let's see here. So here's something that you can't eat it, but it's called elbow bush. So if you're looking for a hedge, a deciduous hedge, it's native. Grow this. It's far better than the other stuff. All right, so we have elderberry, mustang grape, hazelnut, Texas persimmon, right there. There's another Texas persimmon right here. This is a hazelnut that I've been growing for a while. It's in a 2-gallon pot. Put it over here because I want to transplant it over here. I think this would be a good spot for it. This would be a good chance for me to show off the native part of the garden. It looks probably to you like just a bramble of crap. This looks like a bunch of organic waste. I'm not seeing it. All right.
Not seeing results. All I see is a bunch of organic waste.
So, maybe a little panorama shot, I guess. So you might see this and be like, why is there this giant pile of refuse by you? Well, probably isn't coming out on camera, but if you look, this pile kind of goes in a U shape around that way and then comes back around, and then if you look here, see there's a hole dug in the ground right in front of it, and it goes all the way back around. So what you do is you pile your sticks and your rotten wood and some of your kitchen scraps and some hay and dry material, and then you stack it up over time, and then you dig down the ditch and you take the dirt and you put it on top, and you throw out potatoes and seeds and grow in it. Like over here I have these potatoes growing in this. Over time this builds up and it creates a dam. So I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, see, I'm way downhill. So I've got a lot of contour to this property, and the water comes running down and it will get stuck in this dam, which will then cause it to sink underground. So it's a water battery. The problem with rain is that you get enough rain to water all your crops all year long, but most of it runs off your property, so you got to find a way to store it. So it's all about trying to build these water batteries. I got dams here. I'm starting a new one up here. And as I've done that, I've been able to get away with not watering. So it does make a huge difference. So I have that one. I want to document this one. I have a new Mustang grape that has come up this year. And then I got this Mustang grape, which I thought I would be smart and fertilize it. I've noticed that growing these, the best way to grow them is to do nothing. I tried to add some fertilizer to it, and it killed the main stalk. Luckily, it sprouted back. But the leaf color is way different. It doesn't look like it's too happy. I got this plant from Mustang grape. I got this one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 there. I've had them here and they keep coming back and then dying, so I don't know what's going on there. And then I got these two. So 5, 6 spots where I have Mustang grape. There's a hedge. Yay. And there's another hedge. Yay. Okay, so you see these little hedges. Most of them are elbow bush that I don't see any reason to destroy. This whole process of clearing all this out, here's a good way to see the succession style. Look at these trees. Look how weird they've been pruned. So there's a dead tree. Let's get that out of the shot here. There you go. So you can see there's green coming out all over it. And as time goes by, I will just keep dwarfing this guy down until he's a small shrub. But that is a very old male tree that was putting a hell of a lot of shade on that blackberry bush right there and other things. So you don't need to kill it. You just need to take it out to get some light, create the bud back as I'm getting here. And then once you get enough mass on the tree, you can just dwarf it. That's how these conifers work. If it's a deciduous tree, it'd be a whole different story. And that's what I'm doing with these elms. Pre-bonsai material and or mulch generation and live trellis material. So when these guys grow, they'll send out these little shoots, and the little stem that the leaves are on is actually flexible. It's not woody. And if I cut those and just throw them, like chop and drop, it makes an excellent mulch. It's just like the perfect leaf mulch. So I use all these bushes to get free mulch, essentially. Here we go with the cilantro. Loads of it. It's just growing everywhere. We got a wild strawberry. Let's see, we got a garlic. I know I had a wild onion in here. Let me see if I can document where it's at. Looks like it has gone dormant. Right there. So I don't know what this is, but it's perennial, whatever it is. It comes back year after year, right in this spot. I cut it, it just keeps growing. So I'm just gonna leave it. A lot of people will just kill it. They're like, oh, it's a weed, but you know, wait, figure out what it is. Maybe it fixates nitrogen or something. Loads of blackberry. I'm gonna have loads of blackberry. Anybody wanna have some blackberry cobbler? All right, so yeah, I'm not gonna really showcase these a lot. I'm just gonna show a few. Yeah, there's another one of my elms. I'm gonna bonsai and then use, so they'll be decorative, and then they'll also generate mulch for me. Potato, garlic, 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 garlic. Wild strawberry. This is a second year wild strawberry. So you can see they do start to spread. And a blackberry. So I planted a blackberry here. You can see the post for the trellis. And it died. So this one over here, you prune your blackberries to try to create more branches and get more, you know, blackberries on them. And I just take them and I just shove them in the dirt here, all the cuttings. And eventually one of them just took, so I got my blackberry back. So in this bed, I have planted, this is a new bed. You see the string for mapping it out. I got in that pot there, I got a hazelnut I'm going to put there. There's another Texas persimmon that recently planted. So this whole bed is pretty new. It was a giant wood pile. You can still see the remnants of the wood. I'm going to save this wood because it's very rotten. Use it for hugel culture, hugel mounds. Those mounds of wood, basically, that I showed you earlier that are stopping the water. And because the rotten wood is like a sponge, it holds the water. So like I'm building the back of this berm here, because this is a low side down the hill, with this rotten wood. Then I'll cover it with dirt, and then when the water flows in this way, you know, it will be stopped by the berm, sink into the ground right in front of this pond I'm digging. And then this wood will get soaking wet and stay wet for far longer than the soil around it, and then the plants can draw moisture from that. And here is the hole. This is how the family refers to it. It's just affectionately called the hole. This is a pond. And where's the water? Well, it used to hold water, and then I started digging some more. Right here in this corner, I punched a hole. Over there in that corner, I punched a hole. And once I did, it just drained super fast. So I got to dig this thing down to about 4 or 5 foot in depth. I mined this area for soil. Okay. It's got a lot of clay, and clay can be useful for growing things, quite useful. And once it finally gets dug down to size, I want to try to keep it a natural bottom. So I want to try to use bentonite clay to seal it so it holds water. The dimensions are it's about 20 foot diagonal. You know, it's a square shape. So each diagonal is about 20 foot. So there you go, there's their size. And here we have a massive patch of cilantro. All of this is cilantro. And there we go, there is a strawberry patch. Now I had some strawberries under here. Let's see if they're still there. Oh, yeah. You see some flowers and some strawberries coming. All right. And I want to point these out. Thistle. You see this growing on the side of the road, it's edible. But remember, only I can eat it. Okay, I have special powers you don't have. You can't eat anything that I tell you to eat. So just know that. Asparagus. We have asparagus growing around the pond, all around it actually. More of that cretin oregano. Let's see. Wild onion around the pond. Loads of cilantro. Here's a wild, not a wild mustard actually. This is Georgia curly leaf mustard, and it's bolting. I'm letting it go to seed. There's one here. There's also one right here that it's going to seed, just hundreds and hundreds, and I'm going to let it seed all over this place and go crazy, go wild. So you can't probably, it's not that dramatic on camera, but there, thistle there, thistle there, thistle there, thistle there,
Cyclops there. Cyclops there. Cyclops there.
all edible. I've been trying to get thistle growing for years, so I'm actually excited about this. I've had it on the property and always collected the seeds and spread it around, and this year I finally found a spot that it just loves, and I'm just going to let it spread like crazy. The leaves are edible after some treatment, supposedly, and I believe it's a lettuce, actually, type of lettuce. Yeah, I just got a boatload of them. And then I'm real excited about this. Indian blanket. I love it. Indian blanket. My favorite wildflower. I don't think I have any good specimens that are not chomped on. That's probably the best. But this has a special relationship with fireflies. And if you've been living in this area for a while, you know that the fireflies have been disappearing. Right? You don't see them as much anymore. They're there, but the land use changes, habitat changes. There's an elderberry. You know, they're just not as common. All right. Let's see where to go here. This is a Turk's cap. I believe the flowers are edible. The leaves, maybe. I'm not sure. But I mainly grow this for pollinators, for flowers. And then I got a wild native onion, Bocking 14 comfrey, stinging nettle. Very nutritious. Again, just loads of cilantro. A lot of what you see in there. The green is just cilantro. Gosh. I have a wild strawberry growing in here. Let's see if I can get it. You see that little bit of green? It's sprouting back. Initially it died because this is a very sunny location. They don't, in this area, they don't really like the sun. So, I'm trying to find everything. Here's a chile pekin pepper. Perennial in this area, so if you're buying jalapenos and stuff and they die every year and then you got to buy them again, well, this will come back every year, and it's way hotter than jalapenos. Right there, that is a blueberry. Now these are heritage blueberries. So I have another blueberry over there I didn't show yet, and that is a copyrighted blueberry, which means I cannot propagate it and sell it. There's more of that stinging nettle. I have coral honeysuckle. Here's the native honeysuckle. Got a little pumpkin growing on its own. Bocking 14 comfrey. Let's see. Dead potatoes and peanuts. I got peanuts planted in here. They haven't come up yet. Wild strawberry. Here is a tree collard from seed. I got a basil in there and another blueberry. So 2 blueberries in here, and I think I captured most of it. Let's see what else we got. I got a Bocking 14 comfrey that I transplanted. It's not liking it very well, but it'll grow. This stuff is hard to kill. That's why I have the Bocking 14 variety, because it won't go invasive. Cretin oregano. This is a tree collard, and if you notice, it looks way better than the other ones. This is a green tree collard, I believe. It was sold as a purple, but I'm not seeing much purple. I bought it up north. This guy claims that he just let these go wild on his property. And I can say that compared to the Richmond tree collard, these grow way better. I have done absolutely nothing to these crops. And there's another one right there. You know, they'll get about 10, 12 foot tall, all these tree collards. And just full of leaves, all edible. So you can see why I want to grow them. So I've got carrots and Bocking 14. I got another tea plant here. And once again, it looks like a dead stick, but it's actually sending up shoots. Sage, domesticated violet, that's the purple violet. Wild strawberry, Texas persimmon tree right there, another one. This is some kind of squash my wife bought and said, I want you to plant this, and so there it is. And let's see, we have Turk's cap, which is perennial broccoli. We got some radishes coming up back there. We got some carrots. The Blonde de Leon sorrel right there and there. More, these are woodland strawberry. These are not wild strawberry. And more carrots. Got a blackberry growing back there. Another Texas persimmon in this bed. More carrots. More radishes. Let's see. I think that about covers this bed. Oh, one thing I want to point out. I had this coming up in several places. You know, I got lots of carrots going up right there, see? But there, that right there, I had this coming up. And I planted it. I remember planting it. I just couldn't remember what I planted. And it's up in 2 or 3 other places. It's a purple coneflower, echinacea. And it's growing from seed. I believe that's what that is. Oh yeah. I also have a native wild onion that I transplanted back here. You can see the flowers on it shooting up. Purple Roman artichoke. All right, Bocking 14 comfrey. This is an old tree-collared bed, and it just doesn't get enough light. Nonetheless, I still planted a couple of tree collards in the sunny parts. Got sage here, sage there, rosemary. I planted about probably 3 packages of peanuts in here. It gets more sun now. Something keeps coming over here and digging up my crops. I'm not sure what it is. But nonetheless, I still have some survivors. Blonde de Leon sorrel right there. And more sorrel. And then we have a larger sorrel back there. I got a little dwarf mulberry tree that I planted in here. What else we got? Regular culinary oregano. Some basil. Wild strawberry. And wild strawberry. More of that Blonde de Leon sorrel. Blonde de Leon sorrel. Okay, and more of that sorrel. You can see where something has come in here in the night and just dug stuff up, which is real nice of them. A quince tree. And we have a Texas persimmon. All right. Oh yeah, forgot. We just got stuff everywhere. All right, so we have a cactus patch, native prickly pear found on the property. Let's throw it down here. This is where I throw like excess crops. So if I have any leftovers or whatnot, I dug a patch back here and I just throw stuff. And right now, nothing's growing. For the last 3 years, I've had Jerusalem artichokes coming up in this bed, and I just wanted to come see if anything was coming up. And nope, that's okay. Give me a little. Okay, so what did I miss? Oh yeah, a blueberry. Okay, this is Brightwell blueberry. This is a copyrighted blueberry, so I don't really care about it. But it's large and it will give me blueberries faster than my other blueberries, which are like 2 inches tall. But we have such a snail problem that it had a bunch of low branches and the snails obliterated the branches. And all that is left is this right here. This is the only green I have left. So I had to sacrifice fruit this year. I got fruit last year, but I had to sacrifice fruit this year to try to get it to send up some new shoots. This is a Garden Delight dwarf nectarine. If I let this thing go nuts and just do whatever it wants, never prune it, it'll get about 5 or 6 foot tall tops. We have basil, blackberry. This is to get a perspective on the size. Look at that. Look how tiny that is. Blueberry. Sorry, not blackberry. Blueberry. Misspoke. The most pathetic jalapeno you've ever seen. turmeric. This whole bed is turmeric, black and orange turmeric. So I got, the turmeric's coming up. It's always the latest turmeric. Yeah, so it's coming up. I've also got ginger in here, but nothing else has come up yet. So we'll see how lucky I get. The way I see it, if I get just a little bit of turmeric, I'll be happy. This is a brown turkey fig. We'll see if it sets fruit, but I think max height will be like 6 foot tall. So we have another chard right there, Swiss chard. And luckily I got, for somehow, I don't know how this happened, but I got a mustang grape growing here. Wild onion, native wild onion, garlic, tree collard. Tree collard. This is a much better specimen. He looks pretty. This is a artichoke. And there's a boatload of peanuts in here since they fixed nitrogen. And then we have Gretchen oregano again, garlic, all these little guys. If my identification is correct, it's called prairie tea. And I've drank it before, but again, I have magic powers. And it's delicious. So, and we got a perennial broccoli here. Turk's cap, or Turkish rocket. God, I always mix that up. And then we have, I have probably misspoken on this video like 1,000 times. And if you're following along, then you probably have the wrong names for the crops. I'm sorry about that. But there's another wild native onion. Another garden delight. Let's see. Another garden delight nectarine. And we do have fruit on it. 3 or 4 fruits. Elderberry, Arbequina olive, hard-eared nectarine, and I do have nectarines this year. Celeste fig. This is the 3rd season for the Celeste fig, and she's doing much better, so we'll see how that goes. This is a Fantasia nectarine, 1st year in the ground. We have an Ayers pear. Now the other pears that I showed you are Warren pears. This one is an Ayers pear. Okay. Let's see, I name all these trees. Oh, missed one. Okay, this one I got from a company that is just terrible. I would advise never going there. I'm not going to say the names. I don't want to get sued. But this was sold as simply dwarf nectarine. I got it for $2. It's growing like a dwarf nectarine, but all the other stock I got from them died. So that's a dwarf nectarine. I don't know what type or variety. Ooh, look at this. Look at this comfrey. Let me see. Try to get a perspective on the size these leaves get. Yeah, you can see. Okay, what do I show you next? So this here is a flower bed that I built my wife. Now, I can zoom in, I can show you some of these flowers. These blue ones are mine. Let's see here. Australomeriums. Okay. I'll come back to this and name some of these varieties. But I missed another garden bed. If there's anything of note in here, look at this. That right there, this right here is all oregano. And then we have chive, basil. I've already mentioned all the carrots. This is thyme, chile peking, perennial broccoli. I think we got a couple of those in there. And we got some of that Blanc de Leon sorrel in there, and we got some sage in there. Basic culinary, sage. This here is a wild onion, native wild onion bed, right here in this little corner. We have more of that coral honeysuckle growing right here. This is another wildflower that showed up this year. I hope it spreads. I probably planted the wildflowers. Another Texas lantana in the ground, a Turk's cap. Got a tomato back there. I really don't like to document the annuals because I'm not really doing anything with annuals. I'm really concentrating on perennials right now. And we got some basil. I got to uproot this. This is a Texas red oak. Anybody interested? Okay, I got some garlic and leeks and more sage, and it's a salad bar. This is where we get all of our, we don't have to buy produce. And this is where we get it. So we got all these flowers here. This is a lot of cilantro, a lot of carrots are bolting. This is the Georgia collard, and you won't see a single leaf on it, but it's producing seed right now. So you do have that transition. Oh, look at this parsley. You ever seen parsley look like this? New Testament. It's seeding. So got a little purple violet, domestic violet stash there. The Etane, not the Etane, the other variety, whatever that was. Tomato, double bush like crazy. Another one of those artichokes. Let's see. We got back here. A lot of carrots, loads of carrots. This is another Wayne Roderick flower. You can see the dying flowers there, daisy-like flowers. Okay. Cactus bed. What are you going to say? Cactus bed. Apple juice flood. All right. This is the Mexican plum bed. I need to get my ass up here in water. But these are Mexican plums. I got 8 of them growing, I think. Let's see. Yeah. I've got 8 of them growing in here. Most of these are second-year trees. I had 2 second-year trees die. A lot of them died back and have sprouted down low, like this right here. I don't want to climb into this bed because I got a lot of daikon radish growing. Let me see. They look horrible, but they're growing. So you can see how the top died back. So I lost a few years of growth in here. It's a bit of a setback. A lot of it's due to lack of light. But being on the side of a hill, my whole property faces west pretty much. You know, it's kind of difficult to get them what they need. But there's another Mexican plum. And down inside here, I have an Arbequina olive. I'm sending up new shoots. Doing quite well. Daikon radish, I don't know how you pronounce it. Let's see, we should go down in that little dark trail, huh? Where that goes. A little sitting area. All right, let's see what we got up here. Cactus. So I haven't mentioned these. I got 3 of them on the property. This is a mesquite tree. They produce edible beans. And sage, or I'm sorry, rosemary. I have probably been mispronouncing the whole time. I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to annotate. I'm not going to reshoot. If you got questions, ask me. Because I'm lazy. I'm a lazy bastard. So, ooh, look. A squirrel nest that has fallen out of the top. That's neat. They really like making their squirrel nests out of those cedar bark. And if you've ever done some camping, sleeping on that, it's a great way to keep bugs off you. And got some agave lechuguilla. Some native trees that are edible. I've got hackberry. Loads of oak. Yes, you can eat acorns. You have to process them. Well, I can eat acorns because, once again, I have magical powers and you don't. But and I've got willow. If you want to do a lot of tree propagation, you want a willow growing on your property. The bark of this plant produces a hormone that actually facilitates rooting. So you don't have to buy rooting hormone. All right, now let's get to the flowers. Oh yeah, I didn't mention these. These are some of my taller. This is where I do my propagation for my Chickasaw plum. All right, so I think that the only thing majorly left. Let's see. He's peeing. Look how guilty he looks. Ah, oh, look. What are you doing? You. That's a dog turd. Okay. I have this potted. This is what do you call this? common mint. It's also what I have in this bed back here that I documented earlier. I think I showed it on camera. It may not have said anything about this mint. But I got potatoes growing all down the line here on the edge. There's a rhizome barrier to try to keep grass out. And I wanted to document this. This is a moonglow pear, dwarf pear. So within 50 feet of a pear, you want to have another pear. And that way it can cross-pollinate, you get higher yields. So I don't have space for a large pear tree, so I bought this dwarf. I think maximum height, if I let it go nuts, is like 6 feet. And I will espalier this, much like I'm doing that. The other trees where I pull the branches down and make them flat and then, you know, cap everything off at a certain size so that way it buds back on fruit spurs so I actually get more fruit. I want to do that to this guy. And we have American plum. This here is an American plum. And I showed you the fourth one that I'm taking cuttings, and this is how I reproduce those. Here's a Chickasaw. This is technically my westmost Chickasaw. The other one's died off west of here, west on the property. And I have wired it. I don't know if you can come out on camera. I've wired these branches. I do bonsai, and you know, if you combine your bonsai techniques with your gardening, your farming rather, you can get some. You can actually make your trees way healthier. So this guy, I can actually take these branches, flatten them out, okay, let it produce a canopy, and then this 1 leader going up like this, I can actually air layer it right here, and that becomes a new tree. So I had all those Chickasaws die. This is how I'm gonna, you know, backfill those spots. Yeah, see, potato and air layering. I think I've mentioned this. So air layering is just like a big bunch of sphagnum moss wrapped up in plastic around an area of the bark that you've distressed to trick the plant into thinking that it's dying, so that way it sends out roots. And then once it sends out enough, you just cut it off. So instead of just pruning the limb and cutting it off, chunking it in a wood pile, you actually get a second tree. As promised, I'm going to go through here quickly and just name off some of these flowers. This is a first-year flower bed. You're not going to see a ton of flowers yet. Because a lot of these, let's see, I'll try to give the size that I remember on these. This one gets up to 6 foot tall, 4 foot wide, 4 foot by 4 foot in terms of the space it takes up. It sends up spikes of these really pretty blue flowers. It's called the blue cobalt. I think it's a delphinium. The names on these, I don't know them. My wife knows them better. I did the research, I picked the flowers, and then after that I forgot everything. So this is a dianthus. I think, the Georgia peach pie, I think is the type. This is an anemone. It has a blue flower. Hasn't come up yet. It's a bulb. This is called that, whatever that is. It's really pretty. It's a ground cover, so it's keeping the Bermuda grass out, suppressing everything, and it sends up these purple flowers. Real pretty. An anemone, australomerium, some wildflower, anemone, dianthus, electra. I guess because of the purple. I like that purple color though. Stargazer lily. This is a, it's not a delphinium. Dahlia. It's a red velvet dahlia, and that's got a bulb. This flag here, let me skip back here. This flag coming up is a place another bulb is come up. These two are really struggling. Every time they send up a shoot, a snail kills it. Australomerium, Stargazer, Electra, and that is pretty. That is quite nice. And as always, we leave all of our dandelions. They produce a yellow flower, and butterflies love it. More of the Stargazer, Australomeriums. Let's see, oh, there's the type in this one. We got Jupiter. I think these will fill in like 3 foot by 4 foot and get like 3-4 foot high. So a lot of these flowers are going to get just enormous. So here you go. Here's one of those blue cobalts. And you can see the flowers, which I just think are really pretty. And they send them up on long spikes, and then they snap off, and that kind of self-prunes them, and then when they snap off, they branch out, send up new spikes, and then you get more spikes. You see the comfrey also flowers, and they're neat little purple flowers. They're not especially spectacular, but more flowers, and lots of stargazers. So you can see the pattern here. So we have, this is a great way to illustrate it. We have right here on the border, we got grass, and then we have anemone, and then we'll have two flowers like a dianthus, australomerium, or one of those ground covers, and then behind that we have a stargazer. So you got 3 layers of rhizome barrier to try to keep this grass out. And, oh, here we go. Oh yeah, I think I may have already shown this. This is one of that red velvet dahlia, one that's gotten quite a bit larger, and it will get quite tall, probably like 4 foot tall or so. Australomerium. This is a heritage rose. It's like a really, really deep pink, almost reddish, but pink, and it gets up to 8 foot tall. So you can see we're not there yet. Electra. This guy had a flower. I was hoping. Oh no. Well, you can at least get the color. It's not open, but you can at least get the color of that purple flower that this ground cover produces. More australomeriums. White sage. Yes, this is the sage burned in ceremonies. More stargazers. This is that. Oh, I can give you the actual name. Delphinium elatum. Cobalt dreams. That's that blue flower I've been bragging about. White sage, dianthus, rose, anemone, Wayne Roderick. Should be coming out a little bit purplish. Stargazer, australomerium, more stargazer. This is dianthus. Yeah, so here we go. This is dianthus Hercules. It's that white one. And this is the peach pie, which I don't know if the peach color is coming out. Yeah, that's a peach pie. And that pretty much covers the flowers. I've got the Bach 14. All of these are Chickasaw plums, which have white flowers in the spring. Your peaches and nectarines will have pink flowers. So you come, in the spring, this gets pretty striking. And I think that concludes the garden tour. I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, look, there's a giant trashy wood pile. Best in trailer park living. Hey, Bill. Janice. What are you grunting about? Oh man, I feel it. I feel it. You disgusted, Janice? Yeah, look what you did to my wall, you little assholes. Yeah, now I gotta repair this. Yeah. Lucky I love you. Yeah. What are you grunting about? What? I know. You sound like I feel. Don't lick me, Bill. Don't like you. You fighting over me? What? I'll pet Janice, though. Okay, I'll pet you, Bill. I'll pet Janice now. What? Okay. I'll pet Janice. What? I'll pet Janice. What? Why? He's so controlling. He's so controlling. I'll pet her. Why can't she have any? Why? She always licks me. I don't like it. You know I don't like it, Janice. Bill never likes. He thinks humans are disgusting. But he likes their hands and their back scratches. Isn't that right, Bill? Oh my God. Oh. Good night, Bill. Good night, Janice.